inside the mailbox, and it's going to be an exciting show to come. Yes, and we want you to stay with us this evening. You are now inside the program designed for men, hosted by men with guests who are men. I'm Courtney Morrison, and with me is my co-host, Kevin.
Yes, Courtney, man, from Moran Point to the grill. I wonder, I'm hearing a little sound there, you know.
Yes,
I'm wondering
somebody
where that sound
coming
coming
from.
from. Yes, all right. Okay, I'm wondering, but I trust we will work through that and get rid of that. But man from Moran Point to the grill, great to be with you. And so we're very excited that you are with us. And we want to encourage the ladies to just call the man them, husband, boyfriend, uncle, and grandfather, because this is an interesting program. We're looking at abortion, a man's involvement and responsibility. And I have to tell you, we have two great men in the place, in the heavyweight category. And in a little while, Courtney is going to be introducing our guest. But we want you to be a part of this discussion, What is a man's involvement in abortion? Does a man have a say at all, Because after all, it's a woman's body. And that's what it is said, the argument is. Are there responsibilities coming from the man when we think of abortion? Are there responsibilities? Can the man share his thoughts and perspective on this? Whose idea is it most of the time, the man or the woman, to say, let me do this. This is what I'm about to do. And is that fear? Who suffers the most? Does the man really suffer at all? Because things are external to him. That's what we're told. And it's the lady who suffers all of this psychological trauma. How does a man feel after an abortion? Have we ever listened to the man them and for them to share their perspective? Well, this is the program where we challenge, encourage, empower men, and we want to make sure we respect the man's perspective. Courtney.
Yes, we'll have all these questions answered by two esteemed gentlemen. Let me just introduce them. It's our privilege and honor to have these two gentlemen with us. I'm saying gentlemen, but I'm not sure how gentle they are. But we have with us today Bishop Dr. Roy Notice, good friend of mine from so many years ago, administrative bishop of the New Testament Church of God in Jamaica. He is a father and a husband, an extremely good one too. Bishop Dr. Alvin Bailey is our other guest. He's the senior pastor at Portmore Holiness Christian Church. He's a father, husband, former chairman of the Portmore Ministers Fraternal, and he wears so many other hats. He's now the chairman of Cause Jamaica, I believe. I hope I have that correctly. So, gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the program, Mailbox. Good to have you both.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being with you. I feel deeply honored to be talking to both of you, both you and Kevin and Courtney. And certainly you have been making waves across the island. So to include us in conversation, the honor certainly is mine. And it's good to be on with my dear brother and friend Alvin, who will, I'm sure, lead the conversation and do most of the talking today.
we will wait to see how true that is, sir. So, Dr. Alvin Bailey, good to have you with us, sir. Your mic is muted. Fellow Portmoreites.
Really? Is it?
Yes, I can hear you now, Alvin. Can hear you now, Bishop.
I'm saying that's a setup. I don't know if I'm going to be leading most of the conversation, but I certainly look forward to taking part in it because I think it's quite interesting. And of course, especially like that the topic is being talked about.
Really appreciate having both of you on the show, and we want to encourage the man them to call in. I don't know, gentlemen, you're still hearing the sound because I'm hearing the distraction sound. Can you hear it? Well, hopefully we can get rid of it. So, man and man, we want you to call in. The phone lines will be open all evening, so you can give us a call. Our studio lines 876-968-8327. That's 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328. You can send us a message via our WhatsApp line, 876-997-3125. And just to let you know, we're live on Facebook and YouTube. And so all of those who are looking and hearing, we welcome you. We really appreciate you. And we want you to call in and ask the difficult questions. We have two bishops in the place. They can answer any question, share your perspective. You're free to disagree with them. You're free to share your thoughts on this very significant, troubling yet important issue. Courtney.
Yes, it is a disturbing, troubling issue, but indeed it's something we need to discuss in the nation. So what's a man's opinion on abortion? Does it really matter? Should it matter? Who makes the final decision about an abortion? When is an abortion right? Is it right at any time at all? Is it ever right? Well, we can only find out on the other side of this break here inside the mailbox. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Strong man, integrity man, I am a man.
A Digicel, yo, sell me a 3 bills credit there. I want top up and win. I'm money pre no.
Yo, that sound buzzy. How are that?
I'm money pre with Digicel. From now until April 1st, top up with $300 or more for a chance to win cash and prime bundles valued at over 3 million in prizes. A bag of things like you win instant daily prizes, yeah. Win 10 grand a week, yeah. And the grand prize, 20 people are gonna win 50 grand each. Sell me one more there. I'm money pre with Digicel.
Authorized under section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Easter times are coming and the buns are being baked. So many buns to choose from, but only one to take home. HTV is the one that's got that baked in quality. Full of fruits and raisins, soft and sweet as a bun can be. So when you're buying Easter buns, look out for HTV. That's the one that's got the taste that's guaranteed to please. HTV.
Jamaica, our way of life is being affected, but our path to progress is not. Flow has continued to build its network infrastructure to prepare for times like these, to ensure that your connections to everything important are strong and reliable. And if you are a current Flow Home Service customer, upgraded services may be available in your area. Learning from home is smarter, and working from home is stronger than ever. I am Stephen Price, Country Manager of Flow, and this is our commitment. The strength of the Flow network is yours and ready when you need it. Visit your nearest Flow store or discoverflow.co. It is our privilege to serve you.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Life comes at you fast and it can hit hard. Apply for the Credit Union Prepaid MasterCard from C&WJ with chip and PIN protection. Need a card with a personal line of credit for emergencies? We have that. Need a card you can use to shop online for that must-have item? We have that. The community and workers of Jamaica Prepaid MasterCard. All the convenience of a MasterCard. Discover the benefits of belonging.
I am a man. Hey man. I am a man. I am a man. I am a man. Yes. Strong man. Integrity man. I am a man. Man. I am a man. I am a man. I am a man. Yes.
Yes, I am a man, and welcome man in the place today. Welcome back to the mailbox. This is your favorite program. Thank you so much for listening in. You had choices, and here you are. Really appreciate you being with us. So, on Love FM, I'm Kevin Bailey, and Courtney Morrison is here, and we will be having this conversation on man's involvement and responsibility of very special guests, Bishop Alvin Bailey and Bishop Roy Notice. But before we continue, Courtney, we have to do a regular shout out, right, to the man them. So I think let's do the shout out. You said.
Yeah, man. Listen, we would love to shout out to the man I met man them know so do it. So we love to shout out man there. So after 3, 1, 2, 3, man there!
Monday, yeah,
The
you
man them
know,
need to know some man in the place. And
of course,
before we
because
get even into the main folder for our discussion, before we get into the meat of the matter, we want to hear the thoughts of our guests as we focus on abortion today. Just a little synopsis, about a minute and a half each. Want to hear from you right now. What is a man's purpose in a woman's life? Is he necessary? Who knows? How different are women today in terms of the treatment that are meted out by men than some compared to some years ago? And the way a man treats a woman, can we expect it to get worse or better? 3 questions, but just want a synopsis. We haven't gotten into the meat of the matter about abortion. We just want to know, from your perspective, what's the purpose of a man in a woman's life? Is he treating her better today than he was in former years? Is the treatment different now than it was before? Dr. Notice, I want to start with you.
Well, thank you so much, Courtney. I believe that the male-female relationship is a critical and very central relationship for the survival and the flourishing of humanity. And I want to root my comment in that, because that male-female relationship is supposed to be complementary. God has made humanity male and female. And so as we seek to exist, we certainly exist to serve each other. We exist to love each other. The man is there to offer support, to offer leadership, to offer protection in the life of a woman. And so that relationship is absolutely critical. Now in times gone by, the role of a man was defined as breadwinner, and in the traditional sense, and a woman was expected to be homekeeper. Now that has changed significantly over time, where both male and female are now winning bread and are sharing bread together. And
yes,
so as we seek to coexist, I think the relationship has to be one where a man understands that he is God's servant, there to protect, to lead, and to be present in a way that is not harmful and in a way that is not destructive. I mean, I believe that the way male-female relationship is going now, we know a lot more about it because of social media, and the communication is no more open. I think a lot of things used to happen in the past that was very private and secretive. It's are now very open. So I don't know if things have changed significantly. What I know is that we now know more about what is happening behind the closed doors.
Most definitely. Dr. Alvin David, thank you very much,
Yes,
Bishop.
I like to say that the full expression of a man and his maleness and his potential can only be realized if he is engaged with a woman, and vice versa. The full expression of a woman and her feminineness, so to speak, can only be realized when there's a man in the mix. I think it was intended to be so. I think that all the possible expressions of humanity, like loving and caring and carrying out duties and achieving your goals and aspirations and pursuing your purpose, or is enhanced by having a member of the opposite sex, of course, in your life. And I think that this complementary interaction and reciprocation is important. I must say, though, from what you have said, I think that there's a deterioration of the way both persons treat each other, the way men treat women and the way women treat men, because there's a tension. For long, men have had women kind of held down, that a woman has to now be struggling to gain her sense of identity, her sense of integrity, her sense of many of what would give her a sense of actualization. And there's an unwelcome tension that has been rise to hostility. But I think that, where we are, especially in the church, there's a quest and our theology has sought to kind of embrace a response and a behavior that is harmonious and that is not antagonistic or competitive. So, there were the days when the evident expression of a man's care for a woman was there when he opens the door and he treats her gently like how the Bible puts it, and he sees the virtue in her, not in a competitive way. He sees her as crystal, gentle to be cared for, and she respects him as her man to be the provider. But because of the tension and the especially groups that seem to strive for the for identity of the woman to be recognized, they develop this. And of course, we know what is happening in the other world. There are some men who, seem to be jail girls. They seem to take pleasure in looking like and want to be. So there's this tension, that I think is unpleasant and unwelcome, but notwithstanding, it's an interesting time, for us to really think and renegotiate our position and not compromise the relationship.
Well said, Dr.
No, thank
Bailey.
you, Bishop. Yeah, persons may say that because things have changed drastically, when you had simple arrangement with the ladies being at home, being homemakers, and taking care of children and preparing for food, as Reverend Notice reminded us, it seems that there was less stress, less tension, less conflict. With both going out to work and birth control and all of those changes, it seemed that man lose the work. In a sense, no, he doesn't get the respect, because they can earn. They don't even need the physical protection. They have all kind of security companies and an entourage that they can employ. What is the man to do? And I'm just wondering if psychologically it has shifted on us men, and we don't know what to do. So we're lashing out. Gentlemen, your perspective on that, because I've heard it said,
I
just a take
leave
on
it to
that.
Roy, but much worse is that it can be substituted. Much worse is that men, if you're not performing, them just substitute it for another man, because there's always a Joe standing by to play the role. If you fail to deliver.
Dr. Notice, your response. Thank you, Dr. Bailey. Your response to Kevin's question, what are the men to do? Is there a psychological shift? And so men are lashing out and not knowing what their true identity is based on this. The women seem to be going to women empowerment sessions and getting a true sense of who they are. And it has become competition more than being complementary. What say you?
It's a very good question. And I think that every man must realize that his manhood and his value does not rest in the abundance of things that he owns. So my value is not based on my paycheck or even my physical strength, though that is necessary.
Any other P?
I think it's critical. I'm ignoring Alvin. I understand, and I listened to Reverend Carl Henley the other day, raising up three images of the male, which
yes,
are critical images. Yeah. So the Christian male one, as saying that he moved on the tough leader male, as soldier, and I think what I'd latch on to is the male as one who is positioned to serve. Position to serve and to offer leadership and strong emotional protection, even as we seek to value a good work ethic, even as we seek to become strong fathers. And I think a man who loves, cares, and serves a woman and his family, it is hard to replace that man. So even if others come around with great abundance, I think women are looking for men who are willing to love them, to care for them, to offer them emotional protection, and to offer them strong leadership that is based on a strong ethical system and values.
It's awesome. And just in case some of you are trying to figure out, over the weekend, we just had the 10,000 men and their families march. And I'm sure that's what Dr. Notice is referring to, where
Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Hendon referred to us being soldiers, servants, and saints as men. Quite interesting. It was an enjoyable program, I do believe. Lasted long. You know, we interviewed Dr. Coombs on last week, Wednesday, and also we spoke to Dr. Michael Jones, Mackenough Jones. But gentlemen, we want to get into the meat of the matter. But just before we get into the meat of the matter, Kevin, what is in our favorite for? This is a section where we talk about something. It's not a side issue, but we try to bring it in just to get a perspective. And we want your
Yes,
expert opinion because we want to take time to get into the meat of the matter. You know, we don't want to miss that because that is what the listeners are about today. So, Kev, what is there?
yes. Sure. Just to ask, gentlemen, from your perspective, do most men want a family? You know, from where you're coming from, do you get the sense that most Jamaican man want to be married and have children and create the stability, and especially the biblical way, and you know more than I what that looks like. But I need your perspective, gentlemen. Do you think so? You know, within this context, as Jamaican and Jamaican man, what's happening? What's happening there? Dr. Notice?
Well, I believe that many Jamaican men want to be involved in stable families where they can serve and lead, and where they are loved and respected, where they can function as leaders and nurturers, fathers and husbands. But I believe that some men, one, don't understand it, and some Jamaican men, based on what they have heard, they are afraid of it. They're afraid of the idea of taking on deep commitment and responsibility. I don't think we have done enough in preparing men from their boys to understand the joys of just taking on that kind of a responsibility. For many of the men that I've interacted with in church and the community, when we talk about marriage, so many men seem so scared of it. The kind of the foot and the kind down and all of that. That's their understanding. So I think our notion of family and marriage need to be shared in clearer ways and in language that is more accessible to our men.
Well, where I'm on that matter is, I think that preceding that, very true, Roy, very, very true from Dr. Notice, but what precedes that for me is a sense in which I think our men needs to define themselves, and to know exactly what are their role in the institution of marriage and even the institution of a home, which I think we fail to socialize our men to realize. In some other countries, for example, there is a rite of passage for a man where he knows when he transitions from that state of being a boy to a man. And there are certain specific roles and duties and expectation, responsibilities that he has to fulfill before he's given that right to call himself or to be considered or to be seen as a man. We do not have any such definitive markers. And I find that the male has to constantly be trying to define himself and establish himself in the institution of home and marriage. I think that creates a problem because in the quest where the female is also trying to gain a sense of identity with respect to the man, he doesn't know himself. So I really do think that there is a sense in which that is kind of needed for men to be more confident in entering the institution of marriage. But I think they do desire a stable relationship, but I think they are more insecure than anything else because of that absence of that definitive time in his life that he is considered a man.
And Kevin,
Thank you very much, Dr. Bailey. You're saying something, sir? No, please go ahead.
If I may add a quick word, Alvin, you have hit on something about the rites of passage. So just to say, it's not that there's an absence of rites of passage. It's just that we have not formalized it, and as a result, our boys and men have created their own rites of passage. and sometimes the end result is very negative. So a boy now becomes a man if him kept based on him smoking, he must smoke a spliff. So that becomes the rite of passage. Talk about how much of whether him broke him up, so much girl him have. So instead of a well worked through, as you're alluding to, Alvin, rites of passage, where boys are taught and taken on a particular journey, and they understand what responsibility is, what manhood is. I think we just leave the man them the boy them to them own thing, and then create them other rites of passage and say them a big man, them pants a drop off, and them a smoke, and them have nothing man.
So we have created a false sense of identity. Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, I am just saying, because we know the biblical way. So leaders, Bishop Alvin Bailey and Bishop Roy Notice, the man them would have said, but we fail them because we represent the Bible. We are supposed to introduce the concept to the man them. Is it that we are doing better in the church than those who are non-church? Where's the evidence? What is happening there, gentlemen, that we don't introduce this?
But I think we're doing better because our expectation of a man is to have a stable setting in terms of a marriage and a wife and a family. And it is wrapped up in our rules, regulations, and in the things that we communicate. But I think sometimes we send mixed signals, because in one set of teachings and expectation, we're expecting the man to settle down and have a family. But on the other one, we create an ethos in which the man is kind of emasculated, where the church seemingly is against the ethos of feminine expressions and dominance, while he is just merely the figurehead and the authority. So the songs we sing and the altar call we make, and most of the people who are in ministry and are the women, and the man is pretty much sometimes really just striving to get a place, except for the pastor and Jesus. So I really do think that we say one thing, but we really need to become a little bit more, discipling of the kind of concepts and understanding.
If you're joining us, if you just joined us, thank you, Dr. Alvin. If you just joined us, you're listening to the program, The Mailbox. We have with us our two guests, two esteemed men, Dr. Roy Notice and Dr. Bishop Alvin Bailey. We want to take a time signal right about now. The time right here on Love 101, The Mailbox, is 6 p.m.
Move with Grace to win a Toyota RAV4 with 1 year free insurance from DK Insurance plus your share of $9 million. The time by Move with Grace is
6 p.m. right here on Family Radio Love 101.
Your mama, yes. Strong man. Integrity man.
Welcome back to The Mailbox, and we've been having very stimulating conversation, inspiring, and we're going into the main issue. This is really what the man them want to hear about. So we'll go straight into it. Gentlemen, what is a man's involvement in this vexing issue of abortion? Because it is the woman who is bearing all of this. They say she is the one that gets pregnant and should have to carry this child for 9 months and all the responsibilities, and then she is the one that will have to, they say, the psychological impact of trauma for her and grief. The conversation has largely been about the woman. So apparently the man just plant the seed and I'm free and I'm okay, and he's not affected by this. Your opening statement, gentlemen, does the man have a right to say anything? Is he supposed to be involved whether to have an abortion or not? Bishop Alvin Bailey, let's start with you.
Yeah, it is interesting that I'm in on this particular topic, and that I found an article that I'm going to read the first paragraph of it, which is really a mind blow. Oklahoma House Committee advances measure requiring father's consent before woman can obtain safe legal abortion. It says the Oklahoma House Committee on Public Health advanced a bill today which would ban a woman from obtaining abortion care in Oklahoma unless the father of the fetus provides an informed written consent. The sponsor of the measure was quoted this week as calling pregnant women hosts who have invited a pregnancy into their bodies.
Wow.
Now, that is a real just shocker, because I think, you know, this is a state in which they are recognizing that that child isn't just sprung up, but somewhere in the mix of things, integrally involved, is a male that must be held accountable or be held responsible. So, and I want to say that, first of all, we must look, and it is fitting that we are looking, and we are affirming that a man has a responsibility and must be held accountable whenever there's consideration of abortion.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey. Dr. Notice, Bishop, your
Yes,
perspective on this one.
right. I want to agree with Alvin and the perspective that he has just shared. What I would add to that is maybe just step back a little in the conversation to say that an abortion is really the taking of a human life. And when we speak about abortion, it's not so much a female or a male issue. In my mind, the issue is about a child, a human being. And so as we talk about the human being, I want to lay the foundation that neither the man nor the woman has the right to determine whether this child lives, whether this child dies. I mean, when you read scripture, the responsibility that is given to both male and female as parents, as mother and the father, is that when the child comes into the world, they must care for, nurture, guide, raise that child, protect that child. But there is no right is given to take the life of a child. So whether it is sanctioned by father and mother or by mother alone, I just want to establish that it is wrong. It doesn't matter if mother sanction it and the father don't, or the father. So I just want to say that as kind of my opening contribution to the discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Notice. We're talking about the involvement of the man. But here's a question that I also want to present, because it seems to be the basis for the whole issue why we are having the controversy about abortion as well. At what stage, and this is a question I hear out there, what stage is the fetus considered a human being? We hear this being presented all over as reasons as to why one can have an abortion. It is not a human being yet. Dr. Bailey, any perspective on that?
Yeah, sure, most definitely. Let me just say that there's a practice that I have whenever we are handling this matter, that there are some women who are saying, there they go again, majoring in the things that are concerning us and not giving us a say on the matter. Here they go again. Here they go again, being insensitive to the fact that, I had to do this without any consideration to the fact that I had to do this because of their involvement or a man's involvement in my life. And I just want to say that we want women who are listening to this program, and as it is hardly likely that there isn't a female listening to this program that has never been confronted with the issue of abortion. And so we want to be sensitive, and we want to express our sympathies and our compassion if for any reason at any time they had to consider this, especially if subsequent to it they have suffered some trauma, or a member of the family dies or can't have a child again. So I'd like them to understand that it is not insensitivity to their plight or to their present scenario or to the fact that they are still grieving or hurting that we are discussing this matter or so on. It is in order to establish a perspective that I think would give us a greater sense of responsibility to the whole action. But let me just say that it is indisputable, to respond to your question, Courtney. It is indisputable that a child begins at fertilization. That's a child at different stages of development, but it is a fully child placed there and will become a you and a me had it been left alone or if left alone. And I'd like also us to define abortion. That
We seem to have lost Dr. Bailey there for a bit. Seem to have,
somebody, yes, they often use words that are very comfortable to the ears to define things that are very difficult to confront. An abortion is really an act of ending the life or killing an unborn child because you do not want that child to live. It is not for any reason except that you don't want the child to live for personal and subjective reasons, not because there is an issue at hand. For example, the only reason that we have given some consideration to is when the mother's life is threatened. And even then, the object of that act of killing that child is not to kill the child. It is an act to save a life that, that very often decision is taken. And what is done, according to my medical persons will tell you, is not to kill that child. The child is, and labor is induced, the child is born, but often the support system is not in place. And the mother of that child often prefers the dignity of having her child dying naturally than being butchered in any way that seemingly imposes or it contravenes her sense of dignity and decency, So I just want to make the distinction and to say, yes, there is, in fact, as we have said, there's a wrong to it. And we do not support it, from the very onset.
Awesome.
No, the question, gentlemen, women among the poorest of the lot worldwide is a single female with children. If you want to be poor, just be a single woman with children. And many persons are saying, you guys don't see what is happening. The man them plant the seed and abdicate the responsibility, abandon the woman. What are the women to do? It affects their education, it affects their socioeconomic situations, poverty, distress. Children are not taken care of. They join the gangs, and there's a litany of maladaptive behaviors. So where's the concern for all of that? Or would you respond to that, Dr. Notice?
Well, I would maybe begin where something that Alvin mentioned, that to have a conviction that abortion is wrong doesn't mean that there is a lack of compassion, of understanding, of sensitivity to the plight and distress that women face. So what you have mentioned just now, Kevin, is a part of a reality that we have to live with. That there are many women who, very often because of irresponsible behavior on the part of some of us as men, they have ended up with one child after the other, and they're caught in a cycle of poverty, like it's a trap. Certainly, the answer to get out of that trap is not to kill a child. The answer must lie at least in two places. One, the holding men responsible for our actions, and also to speak to women about how they manage their own affairs and their own lives. So there has to be a mutual sense of responsibility. But I believe that there are too many men who have promised women love and romance and a good life, and as soon as they find out that there is a pregnancy, some men walk away from it, walking away from the responsibility, enjoying the pleasure, but do not want to carry the weight of fatherhood. And so, in as much as I sympathize and seek to stand with women who are left alone to raise their children, that does not give the woman the right to take the life of the child, because the child must not suffer and be killed because of the abandonment of the father.
Dr. Notice, couldn't it also be said, Dr. Bailey, that's the very reason we are having this discussion today. The question is, should men be involved in the question of abortion? And just as Kevin asked the question, if you want to, the poorest of those in any nation is a single woman with children. Could it not be said that if the man was involved, that would not be the case? Your perspective on that?
Yeah, and that is why I really just read that at the very beginning, because being held responsible, in my estimation, is not to be held responsible by giving a permission to do an abortion. It is to hold him accountable, to have a part in the reason why it is considered in the first place. You see, what I separate the two issues, by the way. Totally separate the two issues. Abortion, no. Then we look at the option to a child being born in whatever setting and circumstances that exist as a result of no abortion. The Prime Minister of Jamaica often make mention of his mother and his grandmother. I've never heard him make mention of his father and his grandfather. And it seems to suggest that here is a child of Jamaica who has reached the top of the Jamaican society in terms of accomplishment and achievement, but yet a man don't mention. And a lot, in fact, I've heard an 80% figure being banded around of homes in which the mother seemingly is the sole person. And I'm saying that there is a kind of initiative, a kind of intuition and a kind of resilience that the human person possesses to make good of opportunity in spite of the circumstances. And I think that in spite of a child being born without the complete and perfect setting in which that child should be socialized, the alternative has produced a prime minister and has produced many of us whose fathers were not around. But I think, and this is going to be getting me into trouble.
For an abortion as well. Sometimes it's the men who ask for the abortion.
This is going to get me in some trouble now, because I think a part of the reason is that the women fail to hold the man accountable for having a part to play in that abortion, and provide the money, him saying don't want the child. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, if she would stand her ground and let him know, listen to me, Mr. Big, you are going to be made known that you're responsible for my child, or that you're irresponsible, because men tend not to like to associate themselves or to be associated with a sense of irresponsibility. They like respect. But then very often, the woman is allowed to take responsibility and accountability for that child that doesn't fit in her purpose and in her plan, because she can't guarantee the support of that man. I'm saying that part of the man to be held accountable and for him to play his part is for that woman who knows that father to be held accountable. Even in the worst case scenario of the rape situation that we often talk about, what do we see being advocate? The advocate is, let the man go free, kill the innocent child, and she be said to be bearing a stigma that she cannot absolve herself from. When in fact, we should be gathering ourselves around an ethos. We might not catch the man enough, but there must be an set scenario where the man is the one to be held accountable, and the child given a heightened response to morality and life even before it is born, and the woman is extended compassion and opportunity to choose something beside her sense of dignity. We have actually redefined a kind of ethos that is not consistent. And I'm saying to you, yes, all the institutions now which absolve the man of the responsibility when a woman has to consider must reverse, and we must be deliberate to reverse it and ask, who is the father? And I think that this bill that is being there is not just a bill for her to, but a bill for us to know exactly who is accountable. I realize that even now, in the case of when the person go to the hospital for certain situations, even incest and youngsters and so on, the question is that being asked who is the father, and is that being pursued? We need to change our institution where both the institution, the individual, and the women hold these men accountable.
I would agree with Alvin in saying name the man. You know, whoever the father is, that the man must be named, because some men try to push abortion on a woman because the man married, the lady or the child is underage. The man is going to get into serious trouble if it is recognized that he's the father. So the man must be named, and it's a part of building a sense of responsibility and a kind of different ethos that Alvin spoke.
I thought you were going to say that he was a pastor.
No, it's amazing. Because
I mean, Dr. Lawyer,
police and politician, yes?
Yes.
So tell me something. Some women are just saying your worldview, your ethos is not mine. It is my body. I am in control of my
It
body.
it has everything to do with the woman and her
You
body.
can stand there and talk about because it yes.
Well, I lost you for a moment,
Yeah,
Kevin.
you cut
But
out of it. But before you speak, Dr. Notice, let me just remind our listeners. Remember, you get to participate by leaving your comments via our WhatsApp line 876-997-3125, or you can give us a call on our studio line at 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328. Also, remember the phone lines are open right throughout the program. We only have about 12 minutes left before the program. So ask the hard question. We see Naomi Jacob saying, good evening, it's not the man's body. It has everything to do with the woman. It is her body. Would that by extension also say, this is just a question I've heard it asked as well too, that when the child is born, it's just the woman's responsibility. Yes, you are host. I like what Dr. Bailey read in the beginning. But go ahead, Sir Notice, with what you were saying.
right, so the conversation, just in responding to Naomi, that the conversation is not around a man's body or a woman's body. The conversation about abortion is about the child. So I believe that a woman has autonomy over her body. I am not arguing about that. A woman can decide whether she's going to get pregnant or not. A woman can decide whether she's going to engage in sexual activity or not. A woman can decide whether she wants to be fat or slim, or and I'm not trying to be insensitive to the matter. But when it comes on to the issue of abortion, it's not about the woman's body. It's about the child, who is a separate human being that is growing inside that woman. And so, in as much as a woman could determine, as far as she could, when it's not an act of aggression or abuse, the woman can determine, control over her body, but she cannot determine whether or not the life of the child is taken. That is not her call. Neither is it the man's call.
Against the background of the 95% abortion that is for at will, somebody doesn't want the child, and only about less than 5% for rape, incest, and any other reason, I want to make a very seemingly strong statement. I'd like to say the argument about woman's body has long been a non-argument. It's a kind of unintelligent argument that I think we need to just stop talking, because the real control of a woman's body that she has and ought to have execute is that which has caused the child of the 95% to come on the place. When you should be exercising proper sexual practice and concept, when you should be talking about how you express your sexuality and with whom you express your sexuality, irresponsible man or somebody who is prepared to stand by you in the event, or unprotected or whatever. That is when the real execution of your sense of responsibility of your body comes in. But apart from that, if you're going to tell me about woman's body in order to get the right to be abortion, that for me represents absolving yourself of the responsibility in order to be irresponsible by taking the life of the unborn child. Secondly, to absolve that man. Friend, you know what happens when we permit abortion to be legal? The whole human trafficking arena becomes a heyday for criminals. The whole business of incest and rape becomes, of course, a viable option, because him can just force.
It's free to do anything he wants anytime, and it's okay.
Right. It really just lends itself. So the argument about woman's body, as far as I'm concerned, is an irresponsible argument that really should not be advanced, because biologically, that child is not the woman's body, right? As a matter of fact, it is just totally different DNA, totally different, all blood types sometimes different, and that child bears the mark of somebody who is alive. And that person must be brought in the picture. And I think what we're doing this evening is exactly that. We must cause are meant to think is just is, and the real reason why they are getting away is that they are not being held accountable. Even our friends, when a man come amongst us and a boast about, him beat a head and a thing of a youth fame and thing. Hello? Try understand that we must hold him accountable to from the very onset to start taking responsibility for it. And there must be a kind of reorientation of responsibility for our male, including our son. And what happens is that when our son messed up and get a girl pregnant, we say him sow him wild oats, go on my youth and slap him on the back and say, good, and the mother don't make him to feel like he has done something irresponsible. When the girl does it, from the very onset, she's made to seem to be responsible. That orientation must change. And you must listen to me, you have to go leave university and go work, because this girl will not be allowed to carry this child alone on your own. You see? So there must be that sense in which we hold our men to the kind of high sense of accountability that God intended for us as men.
Alvin, can I just add a bit to that? That we also have to raise up the picture of the responsible man who finds out about the abortion after it is done. The man who is willing to love his partner, to care for the child, even if the circumstances are not perfect. There are some men who are willing to stand with the woman, but the woman goes ahead with the abortion on the grounds that it is her body, it is her stress, it is her everything. And there are many men who undergo deep emotional stress because they respect life. They feel that all of life is sacred. They are willing to bear the responsibility of raising a child, but that was taken from them.
You never knew.
Dr. Notice, and that's so true. I've had a couple of men who I've had to counsel who come and just say, she kill me out, and they have been crying about it. So it is not something that affects the woman only. What about the case? Yes, we have some comments. I want a second said.
Yes, let's get some responses.
Some of the responses are here. One of the questions says, there's a vox pop?
Yes, let's listen to what the man on the street. A vox pop here, Courtney.
All right, here we go.
Want to hear the man them.
Hi, my thoughts on abortion. Personally, I'm not gung ho for it, but I'm not against it. I feel like a woman can do what she wants with her body. However, the male perspective in terms of how the man is involved, it gets difficult depending on what the decision is on each side. So if the man wants the kid and the woman doesn't, or vice versa, if the woman wants the kid and the man doesn't, then it gets kind of sticky there in terms of the decision making. But I think I can treat it like, and maybe this too close still, but maybe I can treat it like a regular debate where you try to convince the other person to come over to your side, and if they don't, then the decision gets made regardless. But I feel like, I guess it wouldn't necessarily be 50-50 because the woman I end up carrying it, woman I end up bearing it. So maybe it'd be more like, I don't know, 40-60 in terms of the woman, so she'd have more of a decision to make. However, I feel like the male's input should be considered, but I won't or not. Yeah.
All right. So my thoughts right, on abortion. It's wrong. It's wrong. I mean, no life can exist unless God says it should exist. And upon that being so, when that life comes about, if you going to take a life whenever get the chance to hear the gospel, then you're in the wrong. You can never be right. The word of God said, "Thou shalt not kill," so you shouldn't. right? On the male side of things, well, for me, I would never tell no female whatsoever to abort a child, to take a life. Mm-mm, would never.
My thought on abortion is that it's a no-no for me. And in terms of the male is involved, most times the males are the one who instigate of it being aborted. For one, most times the males are already in another relationship, and that female wasn't the main girl, and he cannot bother with it, or he's married, and an outside child would wreck the marriage and stuff like that.
So my take on abortion, brother.
I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes.
Interesting indeed on what the road said. Let's also add to those a comment from what's said in studio. If it was a partnership between a man and a woman that created the pregnancy, it should be that same partnership guided by informed professional opinion to determine the question of abortion. No partner in a business relationship can take unilateral action without regard for the other partner in that relationship. Reverend Graham is that it's all about life. Abortion is wrong, says Valerie Bowen, and life must be considered sacred. I saw another comment that came earlier. We have a minute left. Boy, when things get
Yes.
to this point,
Yeah.
it's
Here's
serious.
one here. One for
Yes.
Christine. Yes, Courtney,
Yes,
we're
go
gonna
ahead.
invite our guests to say their final stuff. Christine says, "Good evening, always loving your program. I was told too that my one only child, his father told someone that he was gonna give me the money to abort him, but I'm glad I never take heed. So he's now working to help me out." Christine is saying that.
Awesome. Awesome.
Boy, time done on with Courtney. So, gentlemen, final comments on this issue, as you see it. Reverend Notice.
Well, we call upon every man to be responsible, in terms of sexual behavior. And whenever we have the privilege of having a child, we should never run away or abandon our women, but to stand with, to care for, and to give support. Our women need us, and we should never be men who walk away, no matter how tough the situation is.
Yes, 3 points in closing. One, abortion, no, under no circumstances, under any circumstances whatsoever. That child is sacred. Secondly, women must express the ultimate sense of responsibility in keeping her child regardless and get the necessary help and support. And thirdly, we must hold the men accountable, and the institutions must be in place to do so.
Thank you. Thank you. Just to say thank you so much, listeners. Really appreciate your company, being with us on Love 101 FM, the mailbox. We appreciate when you really come in and tune in. So thank you so much for being with us. Courtney.
Yes, special thanks to our producer, Tony K. Bromfield, to Nissan Williams for technical support, and to our guests, Reverend Dr. Roy Notice and Reverend Dr. Alvin Bailey. Thank you for being men of example, excellent examples of what God has called our men to be for such a time as this. Gentlemen, thank you for being a part of the program.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Really appreciate it. We do this every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. here on the Family Station. So until next week, same place, same time, I'm Kevin Bailey.
And I'm Courtney Morrison. Until then, Monday.
Integrity.
Kevin, this year makes 9 years. You recognize that? This has to be historical. I don't think there's any other men program that has consistently lasted for so long on in any arena.
No, congrats, man. That's big.
Yeah, man. Congrats, man.
No,
God has been
thank
good.
you.
Kevin, we're married for 9 years.
Because people yeah. Some people start on radio, but they get promotion to bishops and so.
Are you not sure that you know, Alvin?
So like as my pastor, I can't be scared already. You remember, I don't think Alvin remember that when at Kenwood Center, Arnold Road, that I was there from those days with Kevin and Robin and myself when we usually do.
No, we never remember at all. But
Never
I find
remember.
me and Kevin, them fight. We used to do
Yes.
some other thing for the people in radio.
From them long time I used to Christ days.
Yes.
No,
It's just
no.
that
Did you know? Did you
I was the
know?
quiet one.
Right,
Hey,
sure.
Courtney, Reverend Roy, noticed, did you know Alvin Bailey bring the first lesbian on the show to interview her? No, can you imagine? That's oh, love just start, you know. Love just start.
Yes.
No, you remember that, Alvin?
Of
No.
course, remember clearly. But when you look at briefing and they're on edge and tell her don't say anything what you're not supposed to say.
Say, no.